Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session
with your host, Michael Rearden.
Welcome everyone to Coaching in Session. Today we're going to be kind of going on with a series this week because it's a subject or a concept that is going to be that thing that is going to take multiple episodes. So we're going to fall into an immersion type aspect because we're going to be talking about focus and mindset today. Now, what is focus? We know what mindset is, or at least I hope you know what mindset is, the Mindset Podcast. Focus is basically talking about the ability to direct your mental energy towards something. Now, this is typically a specific goal, a task that you're doing something, right? You're doing something, you put focus in. Now, I see many parents kind of make this mistake when they're dealing with their boys, sometimes girls, right? Their boys would not want to sit down and read a book, or they might not want to learn, and they're kind of running around and they're being rambunctious and they can't focus, right? So the parent is so worried about this child, their baby. And they're like, I'm going to send you to a specialist because I want to make sure you're okay. Sure enough, a specialist, they're hired to diagnose. So they're going to diagnose your child with something. And they're going to say, your child has ADHD. Your child has ADD. They can't focus. But if you put them in front of a video game, they can sit and stay still. If you put them outside and they're running around, they can play games with friends and not be doing this and that. It's almost like they have a focus in what they do. But how we want them to focus as parents, typically in the early stages of their development, is not how they develop. So the focus then versus the focus now can be very similar because they can focus on video games when they're young boys, and as a young adult, for example, maybe they play some Call of Duty, I guess Fortnite. What are some other video games people play? Just any video game that can take a large amount of your time. You might say, well, like they're just not being ambitious now. Well, are they not focused or are they not ambitious? Because if you can be focused in something, then I guess ambition can follow. But these two things are becoming almost tied together where they can't focus, but yet they can focus. They just don't focus on the ambition. They don't focus on the good things. And this leads to the mindset aspect. Well, what do you want at the end of the day? Because many people can wish and many people can dream and many people can hope that good things come their way. But if they're not doing the action necessary for things to happen, for example, if you want to lose weight, but the only thing you're doing is sitting on the sofa and eating cheeseburgers, you're not going to lose weight. So if we put applied focus to something that we would like to do, and if we give ourselves the mindset for the change and the discipline to be consistent, then we have a recipe for something good to happen in our life. So I wrote this article here, Focus and Mindset, How to Build Mental Resilience and Endurance. Now, the word endurance is something we're going to get into more in today's episode. Resilience is going to be maybe the most powerful word in here besides mindset. Because in order for you to grow, essentially, you have to be resilient to the comfort. You have to be resilient to the idea that you could do it later. You have to be almost steadfast in where you want to go. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I understand that some days you're not going to feel 100%. Some days you're going to feel like less than optimal. And we have all been there. Heck, I have been there the past 2 weeks. But there is a way that I get back my focus. And we're going to be getting to that in just a moment. Because focus for me is going to be, let's look at what is working, what is not working. Let's develop systems. Let's figure out what needs to be delegated. So then we can figure out what is the best course of action versus, well, let's just see what happens. And many people are living in that life. They're living in that circumstance of, well, let's just see what happens. And sure, if you want to live a YOLO lifestyle, that's fine and everything. But the majority of people, they want to live a life with purpose. Now, that purpose is going to be unique to that individual. And sometimes that person is not going to know exactly what that purpose is. Because if you ask a person, like, why do you do this? Like, Why do you love doing this? And sometimes they might say, well, my dad did it. My mom did it. This is just what I felt like I wanted to do. And they might not have a true understanding of why they do the things that they do. Even for me, like growing up, like I did some accounting work and some finance work. And yeah, sure, I was making nice money for my age. But down the road, I said, this is not going to make me fulfilled. Yes, my pockets and my bank account were full and I felt good, but I did not feel good. Like inside, my mind, my soul, my innermost being was crying and yelling for me to pay attention, for me to focus in what I truly wanted. And that was education for me. I said, I want to just be an educator. It didn't matter if it was a teacher, it didn't matter if it was kindergarten, it didn't matter what. It was more so of how can I educate? And today, this week, essentially, we're going to be talking about education as a whole, because when we're trying to focus, education can be something that enhances us, or it can be something that we put on the back burner. And I can't tell you how many people put learning on the back burner. They put personal development on the back burner because they're so worried about making ends meet, or they're worried about, being comfort today, or being in a position tomorrow where they can, be able to move because they don't want to be sore from the gym. And I mean, there could be just many examples, of course, like I'm just giving a couple. We have to practice intention essentially when it comes to focus and mindset. Now, the resilience aspect, as I was saying earlier, is talking about we have to kind of fight against what we naturally want to do. The mind loves, and I mean loves, to be complacent, to be comfortable, to be stagnant. And it's not so much that we don't grow in life. It's just that this is a mechanism for the brain or the body itself to say, let's conserve energy. We are living in a very outdated mindset in the sense of we need to save energy just in case something happens and we need to be able to run from a mountain lion, or we need to be able to run from the police, or we need to be able to run from, from our friends or whatever, be, Jason or the boogeyman or something along the lines of we need to run to save our life. But when's the last time you had to run to save your life? Probably years, right? Maybe never. All right. And I know never is a strong word, but this is the reality. We live in a world where comfort is allotted, is given. So this essentially is talking about how we have the flexibility to do greater things. We can dare more greatly because we're not worried about the basic necessities of food and water and shelter and, feeling secure. Because if you're not feeling secure and there's someone outside your window, you don't have to go out and find them. You don't have to run away from them. You could just call the cops and the cops will come, right? Hopefully. Now, we are living in this sense of peace. Now, this peace, it is a double-edged sword, unfortunately, because peace can be something where you're like, this is nice, where, I'm going to savor this. I'm going to bask. I'm going to sit on my front porch in my rocking chair. This is peaceful. But the problem with peace is something that is fleeting, because there's always going to be danger looming. And I don't mean to be negative, of course, and danger is not so much that someone's trying to get you, but there's always going to be good and bad in life. There's something that's going to happen that's going to throw a wrench in your plan. Now, this doesn't have to be physical harm. I don't want people to think that it's only physical harm. There could be something that happens in your business. The business doesn't survive. It could be something with your family. Someone doesn't make it. There can be hardships at all points in our life. So the life that we grow accustomed to, the peaceful life, the life that is almost taken for granted, we don't focus on it because it just feels like this is what we have, and this is what we are, and this is what it will always be. But that's not the reality. It won't always be that. So we have to allow change to happen. We have to say that things are going to change and we should change. So how should we change? And I give some mindset hacks here to basically figure out how you can change your mind to be more focused and to do the things that you want to do rather than the things you fall into or the things you just kind of do because you are accustomed to, because they are your habits. Now, this is something that is in 4 parts. I'm just going to kind of name the parts out and then we're going to talk about them. Number 1, start small, and we're going to build gradually. 2, eliminate distractions. 3, engage in focus enhancing activities. And 4, incorporate rest and recovery. Of course, number 1 is a given, right? You're not going to say, I'm going to focus my life away and I'm going to meditate for 9 hours a day and I'm just going to be extremely focused on meditation. Now, I don't know if anyone has ever done meditation that's listening, but if you have, I want you to just kind of get a stopwatch. You could be your phone or whatever, just a timer. And I want you just to hit play. And I want you just to look at the time. And I want you to see how long can you go by without a thought flashing in your mind or a worry happening, right? Now, even this can be a thought. Why am I doing this, right? This is a waste of time. That's a thought, all right? And typically that thought's going to lead to other things. I could be doing this and I could be doing that, right? Just figure out how long can you allow your mind to be blank, right? If you can allow your mind to be blank, let's say 5 minutes, right? That's all I want from you, to be honest. 5 minutes. If you can allow yourself to be focused for 5 minutes on nothing, imagine what you can put your focus to something in 5 minutes or in 10 minutes or in 20 minutes, 25 minutes, right? We talked about the aspect of how you can get more out of your day in 25-minute blocks on a previous week of the podcast, but we are talking about today of how we can slowly and gradually increase our focus. And that's how we do it. We say, I'm going to focus on something for a period of time. Now, we have to do a couple of things, right? And that's number 2. We have to eliminate the distractions, because this phone that I have here that I'm using for my stopwatch, guess what could happen on that time, right? My phone can ring. My phone can send me a text message. It can send me a notification, email. There could be so many different things that my phone does for me that I enjoy, that my phone can do, but it takes me away from my focus. So if I'm doing something, emails or whatever, I don't want my phone to get in the way. My phone is on forever silent. And my wife's always like, if you lose your phone, you're not going to be able to find it. And I'm like, that's a good thing, number 1. But then number 2, the only time I will put it on is if my wife is out of the house and I know she might need me, or if my kids go out and I know they might call me and they might need help and support. Yes, I will have it. But then there's even settings on my phone that will allow certain people to call through the silent that I have my phone set to. So they have like a special way to get around it. So my wife can call and I'm going to get it. My kids can call and I'm going to get it. But if you call someone for the business calls and something like that, you can leave me a message. Okay. You can send me an email. You can do those things and I'll get to it when I am putting my focus to that. I'm not going to just give my focus away because someone wants to call me anymore. You asked me in high school and college, I would say, yeah, sure. You want some of my focus? Here, take it. Until I started to pay attention. So I started to eliminate the things that were causing me to lose workflow, that were causing me to be out of my potential. It wasn't easy because you have to basically restructure how you're doing things, because your mind is going to go on 100 miles an hour. And sure enough, you need to be able to slow it down and refocus it at almost like a snap of your finger. Now, sometimes that can be difficult if you're not familiar with it, because sometimes something can be ruminating within you in your mind. It could be a loss, it could be a heavy emotion. Something didn't go your way and you're thinking about it, right? Emotions only last 90 seconds, right? And anything after that is basically a choice that you're making. So that means if you are ruminating on something past 90 seconds, what are you trying to understand? Are you trying to understand like, oh man, like I don't want to make this mistake again? Are you trying to understand what happened? Trying to, learn from the failure maybe? Are you trying to comprehend what you just experienced or what you learned or whatever it be? All of these things are valid. So you have to basically define what that is for you. And from there, then you can say, okay, can I relinquish this? And if I do, how do I do it? Typically, slowly. It could be journaling. It could be meditation. It could be reading something. You could check out a blog or something along those lines on revenconcepts.com/blogs, and you can read a bunch of blogs. Now, one of the things I love to enhance my focus is to read. Now, when I'm talking about read, I have a book here, but I'm going to be super loud about it because it's underneath some stuff. This book right here, of course, is not so much of the book that I want to talk about, but the idea of a book in general can be a great tool for you to learn from. Now, this is just a growth system, Marjorie Wildcraft, basically talking the essential guide to modern self-sufficient living, from growing food to making medicine. Now, this is, again, a book that is not so much of the conversation, but I just love reading words from a page. I don't like a Kindle. I don't like looking at my phone and reading things. I love old school fashioned books. I just love reading them, especially in the evening times. My focus enhances so much when I do that. But when I don't, ooh, negative mindsets, all of the workflows that I have worked to create, bad habits start to seep in. And I have to ask myself, what is the difference? What is the change? What did I do wrong? The reason is I just didn't give myself time to read. I didn't give myself time to focus. What is that focus for you? I don't know. You have to figure out where your focus lies and where you love to focus. I love to read. And it's not that I love to read Harry Potter and fiction books and stuff like that. It's more of reading the words, turning the pages is almost therapeutic to me. And you might be a person that just doesn't like reading. That's fine. I like to listen to audiobooks when I'm at the gym or when I'm driving. Yeah, sure, because I'm not going to read a book when I'm driving. I'm going to get in a car accident. And then I'm done reading for the rest of my life. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to make sure I go to 3, right? Engage in focus enhancing activities, right? So that was basically reading my books. I'm going to focus on maybe spending time with my family. I love doing that too. So I basically know that I'm not going to be reading books when I'm hanging out with my family at 12 p.m. I'm going to be playing with blocks with my kids. I'm going to be having a conversation with my wife. And we are going down a regular flow of focus in the moment, right? We're being present, fully present. We're not so much worried about things that have happened, that will happen. Of course, we plan still, right? There's a place and time for that. But most of the time, we are just paying attention to right now, right? The focus is there. And then the last bit is probably the easiest bit, but can sometimes be overindulged, where we focus on rest and recovery. Now, rest is basically saying you have focused so hard, right? So you meditated, you worked really good for 25 minutes. You have earned 5 minutes of a break. You have earned some time off. You have earned a vacation. And rightfully so. You might have earned that break, right? But some people, they take it all the way to the bank, right? They say if you give a person an inch, they'll take a mile. And sure enough, you give someone a break, they get comfortable. Have you ever done done some cardio or maybe some work outside, and you take a break inside and the AC is hitting you and you have a nice cold glass of lemonade or iced tea or something along those lines, and you're just like, whoa, this is comfortable. This is nice, right? My legs can finally get a chance to be relaxed from standing on them all day. And many people, they fall into that rest and they forget to continue to make progress and to continue to focus in their day. The day is not over yet just because you sat down. And this is essentially what happens when you get off from your 9 to 5 job. You sit in your car and you come home and you sit down at the table and then you sit down on the sofa, and before you know, you're laying in your bed, and where is the focus? Basically, you kind of just throw it to the wayside. So we have to give ourselves this idea of being resilient to that, right? And it's almost in a sense of an endurance that we have to build. I like to think of it as a language, or it could also be endurance and cardio. A language is the aspect of if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So if I learn Italian, for example, and I don't speak Italian for 10 years, yes, I might know a couple words still. I might be able to speak it a little bit, but the reality is I'm going to forget the majority of my learning because I didn't endure, right? I didn't continue on with the process. I didn't put focus. I didn't apply any learning to it. So guess what? I'm not going to be in the best speaking Italian that I would have been if I kept keeping on speaking Italian. Now, the same thing is true, and this is probably easier to conceptualize for individuals because it is something that you can see right now, right? You might say, well, I know some Italian still, so what Michael said is wrong, right? But guess what? If you were, let's say, an athlete in high school, maybe you ran a mile in 4 minutes, right? Can you run that mile in 4 minutes today? Well, the probability is no, right? I don't want to be a negative Nancy here, but the reality is no, you're not going to be able to do what you did, especially if you haven't been upkeeping with the training and being diligent and enduring through the process. So that essentially is talking about you are going to lose your cardiovascular system and you're going to be losing your PR times. But guess what? You can continue to work. And even though you might not be at that 4 minutes, you can be at that 4:10 or that 4:20 or whatever it be. Maybe you're at 7 right now, right? But it doesn't mean we can't make progress, right? We can't work down from 7 to 6, from 6 to 5, and maybe we stay at 5, right? And we might have this idea that, well, I'm just not the person that I once was. And maybe that can be enough to stop you. But for the people who it doesn't stop, those are the people who understand what life truly is. It's forever changing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that life is going in a direction that we can't be proud of. So the focus from when we were diligent in our training in high school years and we were young and our body was flexible and malleable and was able to adapt to the high stress that we wanted to put it on. And maybe today we can't do that because we have been undisciplined essentially to not do the things. And now we have to work our way back up. So you might be winded, running a mile in 7 minutes right now, but maybe you're not, right? Maybe you're in the best shape of your life right now and you can run a mile in 5 minutes and you're like, this is easy for me. But if you stop training, if you stop working on something, you're going to lose it. Now, the same thing is true with your mind. The same thing is true in your relationships. The same thing is true in your physical fitness, in your business, whatever it be, your family. If you stop doing something, the focus is going to shift to something else. So we have to really dive into this idea of focus and mindset because the mindset that we would like to have could change, of course. But oftentimes when we have a mindset, it's going to be almost like a season, and a season can last years. It can last 5, 10, 20 years, maybe even a lifetime, depending on the mindset. So we have to understand that there's going to be things that we have to adjust our focus. And then when we do adjust it, are we putting focus to something beneficial rather than something that is going to be a distraction? Because yes, we can be focused on our kids growing up. And when our kids finally go off to college, now we're focused on, the Price is Right, right? We have to make sure we watch The Price is Right. And yeah, sure, you are focused in the show. You know all of the prices. You can go on The Price is Right and win big. But are you winning big in life, right? Are you giving the focus that you need to enhance your current situation? Because our focus is always going to be changing. Now, it could be a big change or it could be a small change. I'm not sure what that change is for you, but at least you can see your life for what it is if you truly just pay attention. Because right now, if you're not living the life that you would like to live, it's because your focus is off. It's because you're not focusing on the things that you're supposed to do. You are distracted by things. And so you have to start to relinquish those distractions and to some degree, in some manner. It might not be easy. It might be getting a coach. It might be finding an accountability partner to say, hey, I want to change my current body, my current mind, whatever it be. Let me apply the focus. And this article right here, Focus and Mindset, How to Build Mental Resilience and Endurance, is talking about all of what you need to know and to start today to build a mind that can be more focused, like an athlete in the sense that you strengthen it to overcome the odds, to strengthen it, to go the mile or to go the distance. Because when it comes to our focus, it could be like a squirrel or a bird. Sometimes it's like, look at that, look at that, look at that. Or we can say, let's focus on things that truly matter. We have TikTok brains today, right? We scroll. I call it death scrolling. And literally, you're going to scroll yourself to death one day because you're not focused on living. So if you are a person who is struggling with focus, if you're a person who's struggling to enhance their current lifestyle right now and you feel stuck, I encourage you to check out this article right here. And again, the title, Focus and Mindset, How to Build Mental Resilience and Endurance. The link is right down below, so you can click it, go to the website, read it, apply it today to your life. And again, you don't have to change everything about your life. You could, because an overhaul can be daunting in a sense. So start small, pick what you would like to focus on today. And you're going to start to see gradually and down the line that focus is going to amplify and multiply. And when it does, your focus is going to be so pristine and so nice. It feels nice to be focused, where it's like, I can't believe I allowed myself to lose focus, to get out of alignment with what I was truly trying to do with my life. Because life is going to throw you a lot of curveballs, but it doesn't mean you always have to swing and get struck out. Those curveballs are meant for you to hit them out of the park too. All right. So give yourself some focus, apply some discipline, become resilient in all the aspects of who you are and who you can be, and then endure through the process and do not give up because there's a hiccup or, something that goes astray. Keep on pushing. For me, I love going to the gym 5 days out of the week, 4 to 5 days out of the week. This is when I'm going. If I don't go, right, I lose more focus. So there's many things I have to do even to make sure my focus is on point and is structured and is doing exactly what it needs to do. So my focus is going to be on the gym. It's going to be on the family. It's going to be on reading and meditation and things along those lines. Not so much, let me watch this series and this movie. And I understand that there's a time and place for that, of course. I'm not saying not to live life to the fullest. I'm saying when there's a time to apply focus, you apply it wholeheartedly and you give 100% of that focus to whatever you're doing. Because when you do, things change in your life. And I want that change to happen sooner rather than later.